Mount Everest used to be beyond the reach of everyone but the most experienced climbers.
Everest, the beautiful and perilous Himalayan mountain, is home to more than simply soaring peaks and snowy slopes. Climbers have discovered spine-tingling discoveries and unsettling mysteries that defy reasonable explanations among its lofty heights. Here are 15 terrifying discoveries and mysteries found on Mount Everest. Number 15. Moving mountain. Mount Everest, the world's largest peak, is moving, although it is imperceptibly slow and occurs across geological timeframes. Everest's movement is ascribed to complicated geological processes occurring deep inside the Earth's crust. Mount Everest is a mountain range in the Himalayas, produced by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates. This collision is still happening, and the Indian plate is moving northward into the Eurasian plate at a few centimeters each year. This tectonic activity is the fundamental driving factor behind the Himalayan uplift and expansion, including Mount Everest. Everest moves due to a mix of processes, including uplift, erosion, and the interaction of tectonic forces. The collision of the two plates causes significant pressure and compression in the area, forcing the crust to bend and fold and causing the mountain range to rise. At the same time, the Himalayas are eroding owing to weathering, ice, and river and stream movement. As rocks and sediments disintegrate from mountaintops, they are transported and deposited at lower elevations. This mechanism leads to the progressive reduction of the mountain's height over time. Because of the slowness with which these geological processes shape the landscape of Everest and the surrounding region, the movement is not clearly visible to the human eye. Every year, the Everest area moves slightly to the northeast. Scientists investigate the movement and deformation of the Earth's crust in the Himalayas using diverse techniques such as GPS monitoring and satellite photography. These findings aid researchers in understanding the dynamic nature of tectonic processes and the geological past and future of the Himalayan mountain range. Number 14. UFOs. An intriguing and eerie film of what looks to be a disc-shaped UFO soaring far over the beautiful Mount Everest in the Himalayas has been released. This intriguing encounter has piqued the interest of sky watchers and UFO enthusiasts alike, igniting a frenzy of debates and hypotheses concerning alien presence. David Breschers, a courageous mountaineer and cinematographer, meticulously constructed a magnificent 2 billion pixel shot of the mountain range in which the enigmatic black figure was found. This captivating image is a mashup of 477 high-definition images that showcase the majestic majesty of the world's tallest mountain. The image was taken in 2012, but it has just resurfaced, attracting further attention to the sky over Mount Everest. FO Today, a watchdog organization committed to recording and analyzing UFO occurrences, has been closely scrutinizing this amazing image. The object's high height is one of its most notable characteristics, throwing out the likelihood that it is a typical drone. Furthermore, the UFO produces a striking silhouette against the backdrop of the great sky, further piquing the interest of sky watchers and specialists. Speculation has swirled around the location portrayed in the photos about the possibility of secret subterranean bunkers similar to the infamous Area 51. The Ladakh region, located on India's border with China, has become a hotbed of rumors and conspiracy theories involving alien activities. The image has only fueled curiosity, with some suspecting that the UFO encounter is related to the rumored location of hidden bases in the vicinity. Recently disclosed archives showed a total of 7 recorded UFO encounters in the region since 1968, providing credence to the UFO sighting allegations. These data have further added to the enthusiasm among those interested in extraterrestrial and UFO occurrences. The sighting of a disc-shaped UFO over Mount Everest has surely captured the public's attention, prompting us to speculate on the potential of alien people investigating our planet's most unattainable heights. Number 13. The Rainbow Valley. Rainbow Valley, located on Mount Everest's northern slope, has a somber reputation as a resting place for climbers who attempted, but sadly failed to reach the top. This little valley near the summit serves as a sobering reminder of the world's highest mountain struggles and hazards. The term Rainbow Valley comes from heartbreaking natural phenomena. Climbers typically leave behind vividly colored coats and gear as they summit Everest, producing a colorful rainbow of vibrant hues amidst the icy environment. These colorful relics bear witness to the perseverance and bravery of those who attempted to scale the treacherous summit. However, underlying the deceptively upbeat exterior is a terrifying truth. Rainbow Valley, despite its attractive name, is one of the most eerie and unpleasant spots on the mountain. Thousands of mountaineers try the treacherous journey each year, with many succeeding in reaching the top. However, some people confront insurmountable obstacles, and their goals become a nightmare. Rainbow Valley becomes the eternal resting place for those who do not make it back down the mountain. The frigid temperatures, along with the severe circumstances of Everest's high-altitude habitat, prevent the remains from decomposing. Instead, they are trapped in time, surrounded by merciless snow and ice. Rainbow Valley becomes an emotional monument to the mountain's strong spirit and a sobering reminder of the dangers that climbers encounter as the years pass. The pile of dead in the valley emphasizes Everest's tenacity, where even the most experienced and dedicated climbers can be humbled by its trials. Rainbow Valley is a startling contrast, a sight of vivid colors that represent courage and hope, set against the rough, brutal mountain terrain. The eerie beauty of the valley mirrors the bravery and tenacity of those who dared to attempt the pinnacle of Everest, even if their trip was cruelly cut short. Number 12. Maurice Wilson. Maurice Wilson, a military officer, underwent a significant metamorphosis after being cured of an illness at 1932. His newfound passion for prayer and fasting inspired him to pursue a higher calling in life. Wilson set his eyes on a risky endeavor, climbing Mount Everest, the world's highest peak. Despite his lack of considerable mountaineering expertise, he was determined to demonstrate the power of faith to do anything. Wilson was driven by his convictions and thought that by climbing Everest, where previous professional climbers had failed, he would inspire others to recognize the power of faith and the limitless potential it provided. He set off on his daring adventure, attempting to scale the enormous mountain alone. Wilson defied all obstacles to reach over 23,000 feet, a remarkable feat given his lack of climbing experience. However, his progress was blocked at this point by a towering 40-foot ice wall, an intimidating barrier that posed a daunting task even to seasoned climbers. Wilson's Sherpas urged him to abandon his ascent, recognizing the terrible circumstances and hazards he was facing. They told him to go to safety in order to save his life. Wilson, though, remained unafraid, refusing to listen to their advice. He carried on, driven by unflinching passion and conviction, scribbled his thoughts in his journal, knowing that this would be his final attempt to overcome the impediment, and penned his thoughts in his diary. Wilson's relentless commitment would ultimately lead to his doom. He succumbed to the severe circumstances within the confines of his tent a few days later, fatigued and wasted. Despite his brave attitude and unwavering faith, Maurice Wilson's brutal surroundings and lack of climbing ability proved insurmountable. Number 11. Human waste. Even throughout the awe-inspiring voyage of ascending Mount Everest, nature asserts its presence, reminding climbers that even on such an incredible trip, biological processes continue. Unfortunately, this common human need has resulted in a massive and obnoxious problem: trash management on Everest. Porters move an astounding 28,000 pounds of human excrement from base camp to a neighboring disposal site in only one season, according to the Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, a local NGO committed to cleaning up Everest. To put this in context, that's the equivalent of 2 fully grown elephants. Furthermore, trash is dumped in open trenches at Gorak Shep, a frozen lakebed 17,000 feet above sea level. Fecal matter shrivels and dehydrates at such cold temperatures, adding to an unclean and filthy environment. Gary Porter, a retired climber and engineer from Washington State, warns of pollution if the garbage spills into the river and contaminates the water source. Despite the gravity of the situation, Porter does not blame the climbers. Understandably, their greatest concern is reaching the peak safely and securely returning home. Unfortunately, the lack of nearby waste treatment facilities means that the local government cannot be held accountable either. Porter and fellow climber Dan Maziar have developed the Mount Everest Biogas Project in order to solve this environmental concern in a creative way. Their bold plan includes constructing a biogas digester at Gorak Shep, where human waste will be transformed into methane gas. The notion is interesting since biogas digesters are commonly utilized and very simple to build. Their efficiency, however, is reduced at high elevations and sub-zero temperatures. Operating these systems in such harsh temperatures is difficult, owing to the fact that the digestion process relies on feeding bacteria with organic waste, and these microbes require warmth to work well. Number 10. Ghosts of Everest. Climbing Mount Everest, the highest mountain on the planet, is an astonishing achievement fraught with peril. Among the various difficulties that climbers confront, some have claimed frightening experiences with spirits on the mountain, adding to the gloomy aspect of mounting these 8,000-meter summits. For the Sherpas, the Himalayan indigenous people, the territory is not only their home, but also a hallowed domain of the gods. Disrespecting this holy spot is said to produce bad karma and rouse the mountain spirits. During a climb in 2004, one Sherpa reported seeing dark forms near the peak that he thought were the spirits of slain climbers. Ghost sightings on Everest are not a new occurrence. British climber Frank Smythe encountered them during his 1930s expeditions. He came to see strange presences, such as floating things with undeveloped wings and beak-like protuberances, throbbing with an unpleasant sensation of power. Another sad story includes British climber Julie Tullis, who suffered a series of disasters during her ascension. She and her companion, Kurt Dime Berger, were involved in a fall that resulted in serious frostbite and clouded eyesight. She passed away tragically when stuck with other climbers, leaving her body on the peak. At Everest's base camp, seasoned climbers Thor Kaiser and Scott Fisher overheard a voice over the communications radio. The voice belonged to a British woman, and no one else was known to be on the mountain at the time. The enigmatic voice's origin remains unknown. The most horrific story is the third person, which British mountaineers Dougal Hostin and Doug Scott encountered. After reaching the peak and being forced to spend the night in the dangerous zone, they sensed the presence of another entity in their snow cave. This ethereal apparition provided critical body heat as well as advice to help them survive the night. Number 9. Marine fossils on Mount Everest. Many people have been perplexed by the finding of marine fossils on Mount Everest, given the mountain's dry and lonely location hundreds of kilometers from the nearest sea. Climbers who have reached the peak have brought back rocks holding evidence of marine organisms, such as bits of extinct and live crustaceans such as trilobites, ostracods, and crinoids, as well as portions of prehistoric conodonts, distant cousins of fish. These finds have sparked arguments regarding their relevance throughout the Himalayas. Some have linked these discoveries to the biblical tale of Noah's flood, claiming that the marine fossils are proof of a worldwide deluge, as described in religious writings. Scientists, on the other hand, provide an alternate interpretation based on plate tectonics, a basic geological principle. According to plate tectonics, the Earth's outer crust is made up of many massive plates that move slowly across the planet's molten top layer. Mountains and other geological features are formed as a result of the collision of these plates over millions of years. In the case of the Himalayas, the 420-million-year-old fossils were created under the ocean on India's northern coast when the country was still a member of the supercontinent that encompassed Western Australia. Around 130 million years ago, India broke apart from the supercontinent and began moving northward. India eventually collided with the Eurasian plate between 55 and 34 million years ago. This massive impact caused the Earth's crust to rise, culminating in the construction of the Himalayan mountain range. As a result, these gigantic tectonic pressures drove upwards the fossilized sedimentary rocks that were formerly submerged at India's northern edge, bringing them to rest on the peak of Mount Everest and other sections of the Himalayas. Number 8. Yetis. Yetis, sometimes known as abominable snowmen, have long been a part of Sherpa tradition, leaving enigmatic tracks around Mount Everest, adding to its attraction and mystery. Climbers have reported interesting evidence of Yeti existence on the world's tallest mountain, which piqued their interest and piqued their curiosity. Yeti sightings became more common when Westerners began traveling into the Himalayan mountains in the early 20th century. The claims peaked in the 1950s during an expedition conducted by Englishmen Eric Shipton and Dr. Michael Ward. Their goal was to explore prospective routes to the top of Everest from the Nepal side, laying the framework for future ascents such as Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay's famous effort in 1953. The 1951 expedition not only documented the path to Everest's summit, but it also rekindled the passion for mountaineering in the aftermath of World War II. However, it is also recognized for something very different: Shipton and Ward's interesting finding. The mountaineers came upon a sequence of strange tracks in the snow at an altitude of roughly 16,000 feet. They improvised using an ice pick, a rucksack, and Michael Ward's left boot to capture their discoveries because they lacked specialized instruments. Shipton took a series of photos while attentively inspecting the tracks. Ward's footwear was put next to one of the prints in one startling photograph, demonstrating that the footprint was substantially broader than that of a regular human foot, approximately twice as broad. The impression's toes were grotesquely formed, with the big toe seeming lower and bigger than would be anticipated for a human footprint. The unexpected discoveries piqued the duo's interest, so they decided to follow the footprints down the glacier for about a mile before setting up camp for the night. The intriguing track left them considering the likelihood of seeing the elusive Yeti, a monster strongly embedded in local Sherpa tradition and beliefs. Number 7. Green Boots Cave. A frightening cave sits at an incredible 8,500 meters in Mount Everest's danger zone, where the air is thin and temperatures fall, its entrance marked by an ominous landmark, a pair of green climbing boots emerging from the ice and snow. This cave has acquired the moniker Green Boots Cave, but it offers much more than simply curiosity. It holds a heartbreaking story of loss and an intriguing atmosphere that captivates and shakes climbers who go close. Swang Palger, an Indian climber who passed away during a terrible blizzard in 1996, wore the green boots. He went on an ill-fated Indian trip during one of the worst Everest seasons on record. Swang Palger heroically struggled against the storm with his colleagues Samanla and Dorje Morup, but he never returned. His remains were laid to rest in the cave that now bears his name, a sad reminder of Everest's lethal allure. The allure of Green Boots Cave extends beyond its bleak signage. Climbers passing by have described weird feelings and hallucinations around the cave, which they explain to weariness, hypoxia, which means loss of oxygen, or something more enigmatic, something otherworldly. Some people report feeling an unexplainable attraction toward the cave, while others report feeling watched. Green Boots Cave has nearly mythological significance among mountaineers as a result of these reports, adding to the mountain's mystique and attractiveness. The occasional disappearance and reappearance of Swang Palger's body add to the mystery of Green Boots Cave. Climbers reported that the body was no longer there in 2014, prompting conjecture that it had been removed for a respectful burial or due to shifting ice. Climbers observed the green boots again the next year, generating a wave of fear and intrigue across the climbing community. Number 6. Snowboarding on Everest. In 2001, Marco Siffredi accomplished the seemingly impossible. He snowboarded down Mount Everest's steep slopes. His courageous expedition began at the peak when he descended all the way to the advanced base camp at North Colonel. But Siffredi was not satisfied. He had a drive for bigger feats and planned to attempt the more difficult Hornbein Couloir the next year, intending to be the first person in the world to do so. With its steep and snowy terrain, the Hornbein Couloir was a difficult obstacle, making it one of the hardest and most deadly routes on Everest. Even the veteran Sherpas, who are well-versed in the mountain's dangers, advised Siffredi not to go. He would have retreated if he had been exhausted from the climb and confronted with shifting weather conditions, but Siffredi's drive propelled him on, and he went on the risky fall despite the advice of others. Unfortunately, that choice was the last time anybody saw Marco Siffredi. Despite the Sherpa's vigilant eyes, no snowboard footprints were seen, and he departed without a trace. The merciless nature of the mountain seems to have eaten him completely. Following his disappearance, search groups explored the mountain for any clues to Siffredi's location. Their attempts, however, were futile, and his corpse remained elusive. The Himalayan behemoth had taken another life, leaving a chasm of questions and anguish behind. The story of Marco Siffredi, the missing snowboarder, serves as a sad reminder of the dangers and obstacles that Everest poses. While the attraction of climbing the world's highest mountain is tantalizing, it is also a domain of unmatched risk and unpredictability. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Before we show you the top 5 on our list, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more entertaining and informative videos. Now let's check out today's subscriber pick. This gut-wrenching image of frozen bodies in the snow recently went viral online. Many have speculated these people could be mountaineers who met unforeseen calamities on their way to the peak. But why are there so many? Do you have any idea? Let us know in the comments below. Number 5. Russian expedition. The strange story of the possibly Russian expedition to climb Everest in 1952 remains steeped in mystery and intrigue. According to sources, in October of that year, a team of Russian climbers commanded by Dr. Pavel Dashno-Lyon set out on a risky quest to conquer the massive mountain. The mission, however, is reported to have ended in disaster, with the terrible loss of 6 lives. Despite being described in reputable sources such as the Manchester Guardian, Tribune de Genève, Alpine Journal, and Walt Unsworth's book Everest, The Mountaineering History, the expedition's reality has been called into question. Russia has always denied any involvement in the alleged operation, adding to the mystery surrounding it. The absence of tangible proof and the expedition's secrecy have fueled conjecture and uncertainty. Some speculate that reporting lines may have been crossed, resulting in mistakes. Others wonder if this was a secret and classified operation, which would explain the absence of clear evidence and Russia's denial. The mystery grows as the truth remains elusive, leaving unanswered questions. The prospect of a clandestine Russian effort on Everest in 1952 continues to pique climbers and historians' interest, producing a feeling of suspense and curiosity. The narrative of the maybe Russian expedition serves as a reminder of history's undiscovered zones and the occasional gaps in our understanding. Stories like this arouse intrigue and awe in the world of climbing, where bravery and drive meet the unknown. While the truth behind the possibly Russian expedition may never be fully revealed, it remains an enigma in Everest's history. The appeal of the world's highest peak continues to entice explorers, and the search for hidden truths and undiscovered stories in climbing continues. Number 4. Angry Sherpas. In the world of mountaineering, adventurers expect the unexpected as they scale the world's most difficult peaks. They frequently find peace in looking up at the stars from these steep peaks, hoping to connect with the immensity of the cosmos. However, for a party of British climbers, including John Griffith, their Everest trip took an unexpected turn when they encountered an agitated crowd of Sherpas, forcing them to abort their ascent for safety reasons. Speaking from Lukla, the gateway to the Everest region, John Griffith described a scary meeting with a group of up to 100 Sherpas involved in a furious disagreement higher up on the mountain. The Sherpas' intentions were evident as they quickly grabbed rocks and pulled their scarves over their faces, signaling a menacing position. Griffith and his comrades saw quickly that any attempt at diplomacy or communication would be worthless, and the situation was becoming increasingly dangerous. The climber detailed how the Sherpas launched an attack after cresting the ridge of the moraine above their camp. The invaders showed no indications of relenting, and Griffith and his fellow climbers were only saved by the bravery of a half-dozen climbers at Camp 2, including the amazing American climber Melissa Arnott. Arnott, a 4-time Everest summiteer, had warned them of the impending attack, which may have saved their lives. The incident stemmed from a heated disagreement Griffith and his buddies had with the Sherpas only seconds before the attack. They initially dismissed it as a simple argument, but were taken off guard when the Sherpas returned with reinforcements, forming an intimidating force. During the violent confrontation, they feared for their life for 50 minutes, unaware of their fate, as they confronted an army of irate Sherpas. Despite Griffith's bewilderment about the situation, the climbers needed to move quickly to secure their safety. Simone, one of their squad members, was injured but survived the encounter. Number 3. Grass and shrubs. Scientists are concerned about the future of the Himalayas due to the rapid development of bushes and grasses surrounding Mount Everest and throughout the Himalayas, one of the world's fastest heating zones. Researchers have discovered a significant rise in vegetation in the inaccessible subnival zone, the highest zone where plant growth is feasible, using satellite data. This one-of-a-kind environment is made up of grasses and miniature plants that flourish in the presence of seasonal snow. While this ecosystem is well known, its growing presence in the region raises serious concerns among experts. The Exeter University researchers examined photos from NASA's Landsat satellites from 1993 to 2018, measuring the spread of vegetation over 4 height brackets ranging from 4,000 to 6,000 meters above sea level. Their findings have sparked concerns, as the melting of Himalayan glaciers has more than quadrupled since the turn of the century. More than a quarter of all ice has been lost during the last 4 decades, rendering the region very sensitive to climate-induced changes in flora. As temperatures continue to climb, the faster growth of plants is disrupting the delicate balance of the Himalayan ecology. The spread of grasses and shrubs has the potential to have far-reaching implications. Water availability, soil moisture, and biodiversity can all be affected by changes in plant patterns. These changes have the potential to disturb the delicate web of life that has developed in tandem with the harsh alpine environments over millennia. The influence on the region's hydrological cycle is one of the most concerning aspects. The Himalayas are known as the water towers of Asia because they provide fresh water to a large portion of the continent. The complex link between melting glaciers, seasonal snow, and the subnival zone is critical in regulating river flow and giving a lifeline to millions of people downstream. Any interruption in this equilibrium might have serious ramifications for populations that rely on a regular supply of water. Number 2. Everest and Earthquake. Jim Davidson, a Colorado-based mountain climber and environmental geologist, had an extraordinary experience on Mount Everest in 2015. He was in Camp 1 when the Himalayas were devastated by a terrible 7.8 magnitude earthquake, triggering an avalanche that took the life of 18 people on the mountain and almost 9,000 more in Nepal and neighboring countries. It was the worst single-day mortality total in Everest history. Davidson somehow escaped the disaster, but was left on the mountain for 11 days until a helicopter rescue crew reached him while they were busy rescuing others. Davidson later shared his traumatic story with the world, detailing the devastation and destruction that occurred before his eyes, reflecting on the terrifying event. Davidson's passion for mountaineering was unaffected by his ordeal. He vowed to return to Everest and conquer the mountain from which he had previously fled. In the summer of 2016, just 2 years after the earthquake, Davidson set out on a determined trek to reascend Everest. Davidson told his wife, Gloria, about his desire to return to the treacherous mountain before embarking on this arduous quest. They sat down with their children and discussed his objectives. The dangers were obvious, but Davidson's will to reach the peak was resolute. Davidson meticulously trained for the grueling climb in order to maximize his chances of succeeding on the second try. He was in his mid-50s at the time and committed an average of 4 hours per day to training, pushing himself to exercise for up to 12 hours per day at times. His training schedule included early morning and late-night sessions, carefully combining his dedication to family life with his unwavering pursuit of his climbing passion. Davidson was ready to make sacrifices, eschewing other interests and pastimes, to guarantee he had enough time for both training and precious family interactions. Number 1. Frozen Maiden. The tale of the frozen maiden of Kanchenjunga has captured the imaginations of climbers and explorers for decades. This enigmatic figure is claimed to traverse the top slopes of Kanchenjunga, the world's 3rd highest peak, leaving a trail of strange sightings and scary stories in its wake. It is nestled on the northern slope of Kanchenjunga, the world's 3rd highest mountain. Kanchenjunga, located in the Himalayas on the boundary of Nepal and India, towers 8,500 meters above sea level. Its isolated and hazardous environment, along with its spiritual significance to the inhabitants, has given it the moniker 5 Treasures of Snow in Tibetan. Kanchenjunga is considered the abode of gods in the holy traditions of Sikkim, a neighboring province, and the peak is highly respected. The legend of the Frozen Maiden is intertwined with Himalayan mythology. Various reports of this intriguing creature describe her in various ways, adding to the intrigue and mystery surrounding her existence. Some describe her as a youthful, ethereal woman dressed in white, while others describe her as an older, mournful figure, her presence accompanied by a definite cold in the air. Climbers who have encountered her report an intense sensation of dread, grief, or being watched, enhancing the attraction of the story. The legend's origins are unknown, with several versions passed down through centuries. The concept that seeing the frozen maiden is a terrible portent, alerting climbers of potential hazards ahead, is one frequent theme. Many regard her as a spiritual protector of the mountain, guiding and protecting people who go inside Kanchenjunga's holy region. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.